Police say he brutally killed his wife, mother, and 3 young sons and has gotten away with it for 17 years. But one detective will not give up looking for William Bradford Bishop. And as our new senior correspondent, Rolonda Watts, reports, a new clue may finally break this case.
I think he's a cold, calculated murderer. I think he has no respect for authority. He's going to make a mistake, and through that mistake, we're going to find him.
Detective John Cady will not give up. After 17 years, he is still determined to catch William Bradford Bishop, a former State Department worker he says is still on the lam after bludgeoning to death his entire family. Instead of enjoying a long overdue retirement, this detective says he's sticking to his job, one he calls an ongoing international hunt for a cold-blooded killer.
I don't understand how he could do that to his family. I've got 2 boys myself, and to sit there and look at those photographs and see what he did to them and what he did to his mother and his wife, it's tough to take from a personal standpoint. From an investigator standpoint, it just gives you that added drive to want to find him.
That could well be one of the toughest tasks of Cady's career. Like a virtual Houdini, Bishop continues to elude police all around the globe. That despite unconfirmed sightings as far away as Stockholm, Sweden, and Sorrento, Italy. How does a guy like Brad Bishop stay on the lam for 17 years?
Well, I think you have to remember several things. Factor number 1, he was fairly intelligent. He was well educated. Number 2, his job with the State Department gave him access to documents, gave him access to passports. He spoke several different foreign languages.
So how does a guy like that end up on a poster like this? Police say it all started back on the night of March 1st, 1976 in Potomac, Maryland, when Bishop allegedly used this sledgehammer to bludgeon to death his mother, his wife, and 3 young sons. Detectives say he then loaded the bodies into the back of the family station wagon and, with the family dog, drove to the North Carolina coast. There, he reportedly dug a shallow grave into which he dumped the 5 bodies, doused them with gasoline, and set them afire. He would later ditch the car in Tennessee and simply disappear. Police say initially one of the most important pieces of physical evidence was this shovel, the one they say that Bishop used to dig the shallow grave. The charred handle indicates it was left near the burning bodies, but it's what this torn price tag indicates that's most important, because this little piece of paper is what led police from North Carolina to Maryland. It is hard to imagine that the same man seen here in these old home movies is the same Bishop cops call a killer. Movies that give us an intimate look at a wanted man. An only child of a well-to-do family in the California oil business, Bishop appears to be happy and very close with his mother, whom cops say he would later murder. A student at Yale University, young Bishop reportedly loved all kinds of sports, outdoor life, and girls, one of whom he would marry, a Berkeley student named Annette. 3 sons later, they would settle in Potomac. Some believe job disappointments coupled with constant bickering between his wife and mother was just enough to make Bishop snap.
On a number of occasions, they would hear him yelling at the top of his voice at his mother or his wife, trying to settle the differences that they were having back at the house.
Sergeant Robert Kiefer and Cady and a newly formed international task force are taking a fresh new look at old evidence.
You know, I was looking at those pictures of him the other day. He really is an arrogant son of a gun.
The 2 detectives say they think they recently might have uncovered more clues from this letter written by a convicted bank robber housed here at the Marion Federal Penitentiary. The prisoner reportedly corresponded with Bishop on several occasions when Bishop was still at the State Department. Why would he be in contact, this Brad Bishop, who works in the State Department, with a bank robber in Marion Penitentiary, maximum security?
I think if we could answer that question, it might answer a whole slew of other questions. That's what's so intriguing about the letter.
The convict gave Bishop the whereabouts of an unknown woman jailed in North Carolina, but released around the same time of the murders.
She was in for a worthless check.
This she that is mentioned in the letter could possibly be the woman that was ultimately seen later the afternoon of the murders in Jacksonville, North Carolina, with Brad Bishop when he made a purchase at a local store.
So the motivation could possibly be another woman.
I think it's quite possible, yes.
Authorities also believe Bishop might have hired a hitman who instead ran off with the money, leaving Bishop to do the dirty work himself. Police are asking the public for help. Law enforcers came here to Philadelphia to speak with Frank Bender, a forensic artist, known for his startling ability to create how a fugitive like Bishop might look or age after years on the lam. His most famous bust, John List, whose case is an eerie similarity to Bishop's. The List bust helped cops catch and convict him after mass murdering his family and hiding for 17 years. Bender joins cops in hoping this Bishop bust will help lead to one.
He's going to change his identity somewhat, perhaps, but there are certain areas of face that are not going to change.
In the meantime, the Brad Bishop case remains something akin to a ghost tale, another intriguing story of unsolved mystery. For some, even folklore. This, the Ballad of Brad Bishop.
Why did he do it? No one can tell. He traded his family for a ticket to hell.
And joining us now is our new senior correspondent, Rolonda Watts. And Rolonda, what's the reaction in the neighborhood to the new evidence?
You know something, the people that we spoke with, Bill, most of them say they're just happy to see that the cops are still on this case after 17 years. What's interesting is what the authorities have to say, and that is that they're sometimes running into trouble getting cooperation from people because as this unsolved mystery still lingers, so does some fear.
They're afraid of this guy.
Exactly.
If somebody does know something, where can they call?
It's important to get this guy off the street, the cops say, so they've set up a fugitive hotline. It's the Montgomery Sheriff Department, Montgomery County Sheriff's Department. That number is 301-217-7022. Once again, area code 301-217-7022.
And Rolonda, we want to welcome you to Inside Edition. It's a pleasure to have you with us.
Nice to be here, Bill.
Thank you for that report. And coming next, we will lighten the mood and take you to a town where a very unusual man is running for mayor. Could it be Elvis?
How you doing there?
Pretty good.
Well, I'm running for mayor, Mom. You think you'll vote for me?
I probably will. Probably will.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hello, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching Inside Edition today. Can you believe a man who shot 2 little girls, killing one of them, could get out of prison? It's true, and the survivor of the ordeal is scared to death. She is fighting to keep this monster off the streets, and we'll have that story coming up for you. But first, accusations against a woman who has made millions telling us how to lose weight. She is now in great shape, but says she was once fat. But is that true? Rolonda Watts is here with the story. Rolonda.
You know, Bill, we might not have taken the allegations that Susan Powder was not fat so seriously had they not come from her own brother, or if she was not banking her overnight success on marketing her story of obesity. So we traveled to Susan's hometown of Dallas to get to the bottom of this matter.
Every time you put a slice of this cheese in your mouth, that's what's happening to your heart. Let's compare fat to fat. You can have 1 slice of regular cheese, or you can have 32 baked potatoes. At 260 pounds, I learned how to stop the insanity. Stop the insanity!
That is Susan Powder's battle cry, a call to just say no to the diet industry. Her message, though delivered in brassy boldness by this almost bald, bleached blonde, is simple, and it makes sense. No fat, plenty of exercise, and deep breathing.
Breathe! Come on, let's breathe!
But it's her own life story that perhaps gives her the greatest appeal, especially to obese women. The success of her infomercial and fitness tapes has led to success in other areas as well, like an upcoming talk show, a book deal, and you know you've arrived once you've been spoofed on Saturday Night Live.
You don't have to give up!
In her Stop the Insanity infomercial, produced in 1992, Susan claims to have once been fat herself.
4.5 4.5 years ago, I was an unfit person.
Susan claims that 4.5 years before she became this television diet diva, she was a hefty 260 pounds. The result, she says, of the depression she experienced after her husband ran off with another woman.
When he rode off on the horse, I sat down and ate, and ate, and ate, and ate, and ate, and ate, and then cried.
Many of Susan's believers can relate. They believe with Susan's help, they too can change their
I
lives.
just think she's great, and I've gone through, you know, exactly what she said is what I'm going through. Depression, I hate myself, and all these different things, and I'm just motivating. She's helped me.
When you look at her, what do you see?
I see a woman who's done it, and she gives me the hope that I can do it too. I don't have to write myself off because Susan didn't write herself off, and she's an average American just like I am.
That kind of support has reportedly helped build a $13 million empire for Susan. Although she denies that figure, she admits having worked hard for her overnight success. But it's a success now being threatened by, of all people, her own brother.
I'll tell you what it is. It's not painful. That's last. It's sad. It's low rent when blood sells for money.
Mark Powder has stepped into the national spotlight to openly accuse his sister of telling a big, fat lie.
I thought it was funny up until this point.
What do you mean funny?
Well, that she was getting away with it, basically. She was heavy. She had gained weight. She had 2 children right in a row. But I don't think she was ever up to 260.
Mark, I have to admit that it's somewhat discomforting to sit with a brother who's talking about his sister this way. He's basically selling her out.
Well, I'd rather be a rat than a lying guru.
Breathe! Look at the form in this room. Look at the form in this room.
Basically, I think she's giving a lot of overweight people misinformation, and it's really not fair. That's a group of people who don't deserve to be lied to.
Mark Reese was working with Susan in 1987, the year she claims in her video to have been fat.
I can only speak that the date, 1987, she looked perfectly healthy, like she looks now.
You never saw her look like that woman in that picture?
Absolutely not. So I think people deserve to know the truth. And so I'm telling the truth.
We brought the allegation straight to Susan, who brought us a handful of photographs. Photographs she hopes will help prove her obesity.
You can say what you want to say, but don't tell me I wasn't fat. And don't tell me I didn't suffer pain. They can do whatever, but they can't take that from me.
Listen, Susan, this is what I'm saying. I'm trying to find, for the people who want to clarify this issue, what year was it that Susan Powder was 260 pounds?
85.
85.
No, I was 260 pounds in 1985, and in 1986, 1 year later,
Right.
I was a lean, strong, healthy woman.
Right, so let's stop there. So you see that when you say 1992 and a 1992 production, that 4.5 years ago, folks, I was 260 pounds, the years don't add up.
So let's say 5.
No, let's say closer to 7 years, Susan, 7. That's how many years ago you say you were really fat. And why not correct your video, too? Inside Edition finds your dates confused. Your story, maybe not. But the bigger story here, in the midst of all of this weight watching, is what's going on within the Powder family. All of this turmoil surfacing right in the midst of Susan's success.
I will not stoop to that level. But what I will tell you is, there is anger involved. There is jealousy involved. If anybody has played anything out, it has unfortunately been my brother.
What do you think that Susan is going to say once she sees this interview?
I don't really care.
Do you ever have any hopes of making up with her, getting back to
I
her?
don't have any. I don't want her in my life.
Turn it up! Goalpost!
But there are others who do want Susan in their lives, women who say they don't care about this controversy. The only pounds they care about are the ones that Susan's helping them lose.
I think it is horrible that anyone would attack Susan in that manner. Susan, I see every day picking people up off the floor. Susan helps them climb out of those shells in those dark places and lets them know that there's a light.
She knows what I'm going through.
It is difficult for this father, Colin Powter, watching his family squabble on television. But he defends Susan.
My son has had a vendetta against Susan for the last several years. This vendetta has been very serious because he went to Susan's house, threatened her, and we had to have him arrested.
As painful a time as this may be for Susan, she says she's determined to move on, continuing her Stop the Insanity message.
And I'm not going to stop saying it. I'm going to continue saying it, saddened by this, embarrassed by this, ashamed by this. Yeah, I will. But I'm not going to stop.
And now to another chapter of Susan's life. As for old Nick, Susan's ex-husband, who ran off with the other woman and made Susan gain all of that weight, well, word is the two are now on great terms. In fact, Nick reportedly lives in the same duplex with Susan and her new husband, all three of them helping raise Susan's two boys. So, Bill, maybe Susan's life is showing us that you can overcome almost anything.
It's all too confusing for me, Rolonda. I'm just a simple guy. Duplexes, years, I know. Good report, though. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill.
And there is much more to come as Inside Edition moves along. Want to look like a star? We'll show you how it can happen. And just ahead, an unthinkable man guns down two young girls. Now, the girl who survived is tracking him.
I'm just afraid he's done it once before. I wouldn't put him past it to do it again.
He's an animal. He said it was just like shooting deer. No human reaction at all.
Thousands of people are gathered today on a farm outside of Atlanta. A woman named Nancy Fowler says the Virgin Mary appears to her there on the 13th day of every month. Her followers say miracles happen. Rolonda Watts is on the scene to tell us all about it. Rolonda.
Bill, we're here in Conyers, Georgia, about 40 miles outside of Atlanta, where you can see that the rain is coming down. There is a tornado watch. It has not dampened the spirits here, however. Nancy Fowler is still inside her farmhouse, still kneeling by her shrine, still waiting for her sacred vision, as are about 20,000 believers who are out here on this farmland. They've brought their coolers, they've brought their umbrellas, none of this dampening their spirit. They have turned this small farm town into the site of a virtual religious love fest.
When I hear him speak, I see the vision externally, yet I can hear him internally. He said, the blood that you have shed of the unborn children will fall upon this nation. My hand is about to strike.
They arrive on foot, in cars and on buses, from nearby towns and around the world. They make their pilgrimage, all hoping to be part of what they believe is a miracle.
Have mercy on us and on the whole world.
Oh my God! See it? You see the face of what? I see Mary's face. You see Mary's face?
I have seen the miracle of the sun. I myself have witnessed the fact.
Well, the sun pulsated, and then it got big colors.
This is quite a sight to behold. For the last 2 years, tens of thousands of people have been flocking to this farm outside of Conyers, Georgia.
I see immense light, immense supernatural light, whiter than white, and I experience the presence of Jesus and Mary.
They come to meet Nancy Fowler, a 47-year-old mother and housewife who some call a modern-day prophet.
Where are you from? Nebraska, Michigan. Michigan, my goodness. Hi. Where are you from? Chicago. Wow.
Since 1991, Fowler claims she has been seeing monthly visions of the Blessed Virgin Mary in the living room of her home.
She's very beautiful. She's radiant in light. Light surrounds her, and she often wears white.
She says the visions appear on the 13th day of each month. The Virgin Mary delivering divine messages, which Fowler then preaches to her masses.
We must return to God, that we must return to God without delay.
Her preaching center around a reaffirmation of faith, and her visions may astound you.
There are angels everywhere.
Mrs. Fowler tells us that she sees both heaven and hell in her visions. She even claims that God told her about the Persian Gulf War 6 months before it actually happened. But while Fowler's followers have faith in her vision, the Catholic Church does not. In fact, it's discouraging people from coming here, doubting her authenticity. But as you can see, that hasn't stopped them. In fact, organizers tell us that they have seen as many as 70,000 people on this farm in one day.
So I saw the sun spin, my rosary changed.
Emotions are part of this event, believers considering this land holy ground. They drink from this well, believed to have healing powers, and pray at this shrine, speaking of visions and miracles.
There are definitely miracles here. There are just numerous cancer healings.
Many claim to have seen the Virgin Mary herself in the clouds that hover over Fowler's farm. Critics say what's happening here is not a religious event, but mass hysteria and the power of suggestion. But Nancy Fowler defends her apparitions.
How could a middle-aged, overweight housewife bring thousands of people to conjures and all these conversions and the miraculous healings? No, I could not do these things.
Organizers tell us that even though this event has got national coverage, it's really word of mouth that brings so many people here. Nancy Fowler is still inside the farmhouse, still kneeling beside her rose-covered shrine, still praying, still waiting for this vision. We are waiting too. We should also point out that some of the neighbors around here have gotten so fed up with this huge crowd that they've actually sold their homes and moved out of the area. Okay, and here we are. Nancy Fowler has apparently finally seen her vision. You have a message. Please tell us first what happened. What did you see?
Well, the Virgin Mary came and gave a message for the United States.
And what was that message?
She's asking us to pray. She's asking us to recommit our life to God.
Ms. Fowler, I can't help but notice the scores of people out here who come on the 13th of every month for the past 2 years just to hear your message. That's an awful lot of responsibility. Does that give you a grave duty, a sense of fear at all?
I'm very thankful Our Lady is the one giving the message to me.
There are rumors that you may not be doing this much longer. Can you tell me a bit about that?
I don't know how much longer she'll be appearing and giving a message like this. I only know month to month right now.
When you see the vision, what does it look like?
She's beautiful. She's radiant and light, and she came with a beautiful crown, and she's so very beautiful. And you know, she came so silently, and she came in prayer.
Well, I won't hold you a minute longer. Thanks for letting us be the first to hear it. Please go right ahead to your followers.
Our Lady asked during the apparition, she said, "Do you believe that God controls nature? Do you believe that God is the creator of life?" Yes. Then she said to tell others, she said, "Let no man destroy what God has created."
And Bill, that's what's going on here in Conyers, Georgia, just 40 miles outside of Atlanta. Now back to you in New York.
Thanks, Rolonda, for that report. And Inside Edition will be right back.